Those people, when someone lies about them at work, fight back immediately. They defend themselves. They get loud. They demand justice right then and there. She didn't do any of that. She waited, for months, said nothing, and let the lie do exactly what she knew it eventually would. This is her story. She'd worked in her field for years, licensed, certified, experienced. The kind of professional who knew her job so thoroughly she rarely had to think about it anymore. She was good at what she did, and she knew it. The workplace itself was fine, not perfect, but functional. The kind of place where most people kept their heads down, did their work, and went home. She'd been there long enough to know who was who and to mostly stay out of the politics. Then a new coworker arrived, confident, loud, the kind of person who immediately started repositioning themselves as the authority in the room, even when they'd only just walked in the door. She noticed it, tried to ignore it. She'd seen this kind of person before. Usually they either found their footing and calmed down, or they burned themselves out within 6 months. Either way, she'd learned not to engage. That turned out to be harder than she expected. It started small. A comment here, a sideways remark there. Nothing she could pin down exactly, but enough to feel the shape of it. Her new coworker was positioning herself as the competent one, and positioning everyone around her as less so. Then came the day it stopped being subtle. In a written communication, something official, something on record, her coworker stated clearly and by name that she was unlicensed and dangerous. Not implied, not hinted at, written down, sent, documented. She read it and felt something cold settle in her chest. Not panic, not rage, something quieter than both of those things. Because she knew something her coworker apparently didn't. She was fully licensed, had been for years. Every certification current, every credential verified. There was not a single word of that accusation that was true, and every word of it was now sitting in a written record with her name attached to it. She could have fired back immediately, gone to HR, demanded a correction, made sure everyone in the building knew exactly how false the accusation was. She thought about it. For a long time, she thought about it, and then she made a different choice. She said nothing. She kept her head down, did her job, and waited. Not because she was afraid, not because she didn't have the evidence to fight back, but because she'd seen enough workplace conflicts to know something important. The person who reacts loudly and immediately rarely wins. The person who lets the other side keep talking almost always does. So she waited, and her coworker kept talking. Weeks went by, then a month, then 2. During that time, her coworker's confidence only grew. She interpreted the silence as weakness, as confirmation that the accusation had landed, that the target was rattled, that maybe, there was something to it after all. She watched this happen, watched her coworker get bolder, watched her start repeating the accusation in other contexts, to other people, building a narrative, one conversation at a time. She kept a record of all of it. Every email, every written communication, every documented instance where her coworker had put the lie in writing. She saved them, filed them, said nothing out loud. Just let the paper trail grow. There were days it was hard, days she wanted to say something, clear her name, make sure the people around her knew the truth, but she held the line, because she knew something her coworker kept forgetting. Every time you put a lie in writing, you're not just telling a story, you're signing your name to it. Like pressure building toward release. Then came the moment she'd been waiting for. Her coworker made the mistake of sending the accusation, unlicensed and dangerous, by name, in writing, one too many times. And this time, it reached someone who didn't just accept it as workplace gossip, someone who took it seriously, someone who passed it along to the right people. A defamation claim was filed. The emails, every single one of them, the whole paper trail she'd been quietly building for months, went into evidence. And then someone made a decision that changed everything. Those same emails, with those same written accusations about licensing, were submitted directly to her coworker's professional licensing board. Her coworker had spent months calling her unlicensed and dangerous. Now, her coworker's own licensing board was reading those emails and asking questions. What happened next wasn't instant. These things rarely are. But the process that started was real, and it was irreversible. A licensing board investigation is not a small thing. It's not a HR complaint that gets filed and forgotten. It's formal, it's documented, it goes on record. It can follow someone for the rest of their career. Her coworker had built her entire workplace identity on being the authority in the room, the competent one, the credentialed one, the one who knew better than everyone around her. And now that identity was being examined, line by line, by the very institution that had granted her the license she'd been hiding behind. The thing about putting a lie in writing is that it works in both directions. It can damage the person you're lying about, but it can also, if you're patient enough to wait, become the exact evidence that damages you. She didn't win loudly. There was no dramatic confrontation. No moment where she stood up in front of everyone and delivered a speech. That's not how this kind of thing works. What happened instead was quieter and more complete. The legal process moved forward. The licensing board moved forward. And her coworker, who had spent months positioning herself as the most authoritative person in the building, found herself in a position she couldn't talk her way out of. Because the record she'd created, the emails, the accusations, the written statements with her name on every single one, was now the record being used against her. Every word she'd put in writing to try to end someone else's career became the document that threatened her own. She says the most important thing she did through all of it was nothing. The hardest professional decision she ever made was to stay quiet, document everything, and trust that the truth had a longer shelf life than the lie. She's still in her field, still licensed, still doing the work she's always done. She says the whole experience taught her something she already knew intellectually, but had never had to live through at that scale. That the best response to someone trying to publicly dismantle you isn't always to fight back immediately. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is make sure you're the one holding the receipts when it's finally time to hand them over. She waited. She said nothing. And in the end, the lie her coworker told about her told on her coworker instead. If you've ever been falsely accused of something at work and felt the pull to defend yourself immediately, you know how much discipline it takes to wait instead. This was a dramatized story inspired by real experiences shared online. If it got to you, subscribe for more, and let us know in the comments whether you think you could have stayed quiet that long, or whether you would have fought back on day one.